you. Yeah, yo. There whenever it matters, and even more when you feel like it doesn't. Protect you so you never feel like you wasn't. Know I'm right alongside you. Either that or I'm behind you, but always got you. End the discussion, nothing means more. First one to offer is shoulders for what you reach for. Thought I saw the eyes of the world until I seen yours. And know that I ain't see a better view yet. I'm with whatever, so don't ever you fret. Know that you covered, not a hurdle or a heartbreak. A change what a partake, cause none of them won't ever get comfortable in your walkway. My job is to aware you, fully loaded, prepare you for all of the above that I'm never letting get near you. But still in all, give you every advantage I found. Couldn't find a better fit for them, along with my crown. And since the baton was passed, I've been down. Cause failing's not an option, and dad is not a noun, not at all.
My message to any dad, man, first off, know that, yeah, it is a hard job, but it's the greatest job in the world. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I wouldn't change anything about it. Everything you're doing from here on out, if it didn't have purpose before, now it has purpose. It's the most important thing you'll ever do. Just be a dad.
Welcome to another episode of Dad Is Not a Now. My name is Ishmael, changing the narrative for men of color fatherhood, but also changing the narrative on the things I care about. And today I have a special guest with me today. He's an extraordinary poet. I was on I was on TikTok, and I saw him recite this piece called Boys Like Flowers Too. And I'm truly honored to have this amazing poet on. Kaleo, thank you for coming on. How you doing, brother?
Thank you for having me. I'm good. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day to you, my brother, too, man. And it's okay for men and men to say Happy Valentine's Day to it.
Yes.
It should be nothing wrong with it. My question to you, because I ask all my guests, because I'm all about mental health and how you're doing and all that things you're doing, but I'll form it in a different question. How's your heart at this moment?
It's sort of ironic that we get to have this podcast sort of on Valentine's Day, right? But for me, my heart is a little tender right now. Not broken, not like shut down, but just really tender. And I've always just been someone that loves deeply. And I'm very open, and for like a long time, that sometimes came at my own expense. I didn't know where I ended, and I don't really know where I ended and where other people began. I think this chapter of my life is really about discernment and about learning boundaries as protection. I spent a lot of time breaking down my walls, but now it's just learning how to protect my heart, and realizing that having a big heart doesn't mean that it has to be available to everybody all the time. Um, and my heart is still open. I still believe in people. I still believe in softness. I believe in hope. And I, of course, still believe in love, but I'm learning that a big part of that is rest. And rest is a big part for mental health. And those is part of learning how to say no as part of self-respect. And I think especially as men, we're raised around masculinity, expectation, and taught to ignore like our internal check-ins. And so even being able to answer this question out loud is a form of care. So I appreciate you asking.
No, definitely. And I think that's important to questions matter, and how you phrase the questions kind of helps with having that conversation, because sometimes people will say how you're doing, and you don't know if that person's genuine because you hear it all the
Yes.
time. So just changing it a little bit makes it engaging and makes people feel comfortable just to share, because we live in a society where we're so reclusive,
Yes.
and the only time we find community is through social media. And so, yeah, I thank you. I appreciate you for sharing that, because I think that's important, because that leads into my next question is, when did you fall in love with poetry?
Ooh. So I was actually born and raised in Hawaii. I went to an all Hawaiian private school, and in middle school, we were shared this poet. They are a Hawaiian activist and poet, and their name is Jamaica Rosario. and she had the opportunity to perform at the White House for President Barack Obama. And she did a piece basically about her mo'oku'auhau, which is basically genealogy. So she did a piece about her family genealogy. And I just remember being so entranced and like in awe of how she was performing. And I think especially I was in awe of her voice, you know. It almost felt like, I guess, for lack of better words, it's ancestral. You know, her voice was very ancestral and it came from somewhere much deeper and older than she was. So like she was beyond her years. And it's something that I recognized in me. And after that, I started to write. And having gone to an all Hawaiian school, and having learned Hawaiian history and being taught traditional practices and Hawaiian culture, I did a lot of my first pieces were about the overthrow of the Hawaiian government, about our practices, about our traditions, about our oli or about our chants. And it was a way for me to hold not just culture, but belief, pride, and resistance all in once. But what really made me fall in love was the use of my voice, the use of one's voice and how they deliver it and the cadence behind how we use our voice. And for me, a big part of that is my name, Kaleo, is Hawaiian for voice. And it hearing how my voice could live not just inside of me, but in other people, in other Hawaiians, in other men or boys, in other just other people in general. Um, it's like saying I've never really been put in other people's shoes, but I hear what they're saying. I know what they're saying. I feel what they're saying. And poetry for me showed that emotion across the board is something shared, something that we all share. It's a shared language. And that even when stories look different, even when faces or skin color or everything just looks different, underneath that all is our emotions, is our vulnerability. And that's what really connects all of us. And once I realized that, I never really stopped writing.
And that's awesome. And keep on writing too. But I love your name because again, you said sound and voice. And I love how you put that ancestral piece to it
Mm,
because a lot of time when we talk about sound, like we're inspired by the soil. The soil is our ancestors. And
yes.
so listening to the sound of the soil is where we find our voice. Just talk about that moment in time when you finally found your voice.
I only started going by Kaleo probably within the last 2 years. Before I came to New York, and in schools and in jobs and in applications, my English name, my first name, my first government or legal name is John. And that's all I ever went by when I was outside of home. Kaleo for me was a home name, something I was only called within my own household. You know what I mean? Something my family could call me. And so anytime I stepped out of that door, I was only going by John. And from John, developed nicknames like John, Johnny, Johnny Tsunami. And it was for the first time when I was possibly, I like to think about it as like my quarter life renaissance of when I was possibly going through a particular time in my life of having felt like I lost everything. And I found myself in this time of stillness and in this period of reflection and really having to think what I had, what did I have left at that time in my life. And I had my art, and my art included lei making or Hawaiian flower garlands. It included drag art, drag makeup. It included drawing. It included writing. And during that period of time, I realized this entire time the only reason why I wasn't able to feel at home was because I wasn't at home with myself. And for me, a big part of that was like, hey, so what makes a place home? And throughout that whole entire time, I think I was just trying to find my voice. And with writing and finding open mics and slam poetry, being able to use my voice, I it clicked in my mind. I was like, Kaleo. Kaleo has always been with you. Kaleo is something that has never left me. Kaleo is something that I was born with. It's something that we were all born with. Kaleo, voice. And so I've only been going by Kaleo within the past 2 years. And ever since I've been going by Kaleo, I just been finding this new drive, um, this new drive for life and this new passion of mine to really use my voice. And yeah,
And you're using your voice, and I'm loving it. If you want to recite the piece, and then after the piece, I want to ask you next the inspiration behind the piece of "Boys Like Flowers Too." So, if the floor is yours for you to recite, brother.
I got you. I got you. Boys like flowers too. But we were handed mirrors instead, told to shave off anything that looked like softness before it started looking like truth. We were never taught how to be men. We were taught how not to be women. Like lesson one, if it leaks, lock it up. Lesson two, if it trembles, kill it. Lesson three, if it feels like love, turn it into something useful. Anger, ambition, addiction. We learn masculinity like a crime scene cleanup. Bleach the tears, burn the journals, dispose of the boy quietly so a man could walk out untouched. Boys like flowers too, but no one ever handed us any without a coffin nearby. No one said these are for you, only I'm sorry for your loss. We were raised to believe love was a reward, something earned after obedience, after silence, after becoming unrecognizable to ourselves. Tell me, how many boys learn affection through performance? Smile bright, win, provide first, die second. You were praised for being low maintenance, for not asking, for disappearing politely, for bleeding in ways that didn't inconvenience anyone else. That's not strength, that's training. Boys like flowers too. But our hands were taught how to grip, not receive, how to hold everything together except ourselves. We became gardens no one knew how to tend to, overgrown with unmet needs, roots strangling the heart, petals rotting from the lack of touch. When a boy finally breaks, we call it anger. They call it violence. They call it out of nowhere. But it came from everywhere. From every time we swallowed his fear, from every hug that never came, from every be a man that meant be alone. Who told us softness was dangerous? Who convinced us gentleness would get us killed? Who benefits from who benefits from boys who don't know how to ask for help until asking looks like a threat? Boys like flowers too. They deserve to be celebrated while breathing, to be held without suspicion, to be seen without earning it. Because the opposite of masculinity was never femininity. It's vulnerability. And vulnerability scares a world that profits off of boys turning into weapons instead of humans. To give flowers to the boy who learned love as survival, to the boy who confuses peace with boredom, to the boy continuing to apologize for taking up emotional space. Give flowers to the boys who are still alive, still trying, still blooming in silence. Men deserve flowers too.
Wow, that's that's powerful, man. And when I listen to poetry, I close my eyes.
Mhm.
And the reason why I close my eyes is I want to. I focus on envisioning like a portrait. Like every word is an image on that art wall,
Mm,
and boys like flowers too is just a masterpiece of what is possible if it's shown
mm,
to young men.
mm,
The possibility that recognition through a flower, you know, it just shows the potential of growth of the individual. And so my question to you, what was the inspiration behind that masterful piece?
You know, I remember, I don't know if I was scrolling through Facebook or TikTok or what I was reading at the time, but I heard the quote, and it's something I put into my poem is men were never taught how to be men. Men were taught how not to be women. And that line in itself stopped me in my tracks. And it explains so much in just one small sentence. And I started to think about all the things that as boys growing up, what were we taught to cut away? We were, whether it be softness, whether it be emotion, whether it be gentleness, growing up, I was very, very openly vulnerable. I cried a lot. I was emotional. I cried at the smallest things. And over this past summer, I was talking to my aunt, and she had told me, "Oh, when you used to cry as a kid, and it could be for no what reason, if anybody else was crying, you would start crying, and the way your cry sounded was compassionate. It was like you're feeling everybody. You absorbed the emotion, and you were just putting it out there as if it was your own." And you know, and I think about what we grow up being, what we grow up learning as men, what we're taught, what society teaches us to be as men. We don't get a chance to even understand our softness or vulnerability or emotions, and that was a big part of it. But with poetry, for me, I'm pulling inspiration from anything that's right in front of me, anything that I've done in the past, anything I've reflected on the past, or that I can think about. And so that's just one part of where the piece started to build. That's what really cracked open and started getting the gears to work. And then not long after that, I was getting ready at a friend's, headed to a poetry event, and they're another poet. And we also have another friend. Um, it was their birthday, and I decided that for their birthday, I was going to make them a lei, Hawaiian flower garden, because I'm a lei maker. I will make lei anywhere I go. Um, as I said before, it's something that I return to in stillness to really help me just be focused on me and my life. And so as I'm making this lei, as I'm crafting the story through lei, me and my friend are having conversation. And I just casually blurt out that, growing up, I like flowers. And, that like men deserve flowers too. Boys like flowers too. And then we hadn't realized it right then and there. But as soon as I finished that lay, and as soon as I said boys like flowers too, me and my friend looked at each other and realized how simple and heavy that truth was of how boys liked flowers too. And I've always loved flowers, even as a lay maker. I growing up in Hawaii, we learned to be really connected with nature, and flowers have always represented some form of care, love, celebration. Flowers has a presence all on its own. And when you think about who gets flowers, you primarily think of women. You think of um, just females and gifting them for days like this, Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And when you think about when men or boys actually get flowers, it's usually the at the end of something, and more so than that, it's usually at funerals. And it's rarely just because someone is alive and trying to survive. And so, having been just pretty vulnerable by nature, and I'm far from a surface level person, I've noticed how rare that kind of emotional openness is encouraged in men. So the poem really came together from all of that, from hearing the quote that are taught, or men aren't taught how to be men, but are taught not how to be women, and having that casual conversation where a casual line like that, like boys like flowers too, it talks about masculinity, tenderness, nature, grief, survival. And it's not anti-man at all. It's actually just very pro-human. And on my video, when I posted that, someone said, "Oh, as a man, this piece was powerful, but personally, I don't want flowers." And I I told him, listen to the poem one more time,
Yeah.
because flowers. Yes, give flowers to men,
Right.
but you need to look at yourself in the mirror and realize men are also flowers.
Yeah.
And we have to start asking what would happen if we let boys receive softness without suspicion.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. That's a question I'm not going to answer. That's a question for people to listen and answer them for themselves.
Mhm.
And that's the why it's important that people uh read your watch that write, like, not watch, but watch your poem and get, because again, when you recite poetry, they're gonna get their own interpretation of what you're trying to say.
Mhm.
Even though you know what you're
Mhm.
what you're what's coming from your heart, they're gonna take it differently. But that's on them. But like I said, um, I want people to just think about what brother Kalo just said and just answer that question for yourself, because we all go through, we grow up in different upbringings and we look at things in a different perspective. So I want you to figure that out for yourself, whoever's out there listening to this amazing conversation. uh when you recited this poem for the first time, what was the crowd reaction and what was your reaction after you finished?
The first time I shared it, I go to these um, open mic slash slam competition hosted by the New York Weekend Poets Cafe um, in the Lower East Side, and somewhere I've been going for a while now. And I honestly wasn't even ready. I didn't have it memorized. I was even indecisive if I was going to perform it because it was still a brand new piece. I was still changing things here and there, editing it. I was practicing it with a friend, getting their thoughts about the piece. And she said, "Do it, just do it." that I'm hearing it, I'm hearing the words, and you're not speaking it as if you're performing it, but I need to hear this performed.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, sure. And so when I get up to the mic, I always take probably 5 seconds to just really center myself. And I think in that moment, like the room got really quiet. And of course, everyone's going to quiet down when the performer gets on the mic. But for me, like the room really got quiet. My mind got really quiet. And I'm holding my phone with the piece on my phone because I'm reading it off and I don't have it memorized. And it was like an intentional quiet. And it felt like it felt like people knew that I was about to speak something before I even knew what I was going to speak. And after when I performed it, the audience it took them a second before they applauded. And the other poets that were there that I had admired going to New Year weekend for a while now were saying things like, that's your piece, that's your staple piece. That's the one people are going to remember you for. That piece was gut wrenching. And it was so real because as a writer, as a poet, you don't always know what you're doing. You don't know what you're always writing. Sometimes you just have to write. And sometimes you're just following instinct. This is just like, this is what I got down. This is what I'm feeling. This is my emotions. And I don't know if anybody else is going to understand this, but this is what I'm writing. And it wasn't until I saw how it landed in other people that I realized how universal the message was. And I had not just men coming up to me after that point. I had mothers, I had grandmothers, I had women coming up to me and like, thank you. Because it's telling me I'm raising my boy correct. I'm raising him to believe that his softness, his vulnerability, his gentleness, his openness is something he needs and it's something that he needs to grow up with. And even now, after I performed it multiple times, I'm still constantly editing it. For example, the line where it goes, for hurting in ways that didn't inconvenience anyone else, I changed it to for bleeding in ways that didn't inconvenience anyone else. And I'm still editing it. I'm still changing words. I'm still taking moments where I know it just needed to be changed, and I'm learning to sharpen my lines
Right.
because the truth just is evolving with each time that I'm performing it and with these new faces that come up to me and tell me how much this piece has resonated with them. And so, as this poem is growing, as it's being heard in different spaces and I'm performing it, it's the poem isn't the only thing that's growing. I'm also growing. I'm still growing. And honestly, that's how I know that this piece, and it's honestly how I know I'm alive. And I know how this piece is alive because for the longest time I've been searching. I've gone a while without my emotions. And this piece performing it has really been cracking my emotions back to me. Has been opening myself back up to hope and faith. And I know this piece isn't finished, but I know it's gonna keep meeting people where they are.
And it definitely will. And what I say about poetry is a poem is never finished. It's never
Mm,
finished. It's like a short film.
mm,
You put it out there. You're gonna make a lot of edits. You're gonna make changes. It's gonna happen. You know what I mean? It's never finished. It's constantly evolving as you. So what people are hearing now may be different a couple of months later because you're still going as an individual. And what I find amazing is that you recited this at the legendary New Eurekan Cafe. If you're a poet, a real poet, the Eurekan Cafe is like the Mecca when it comes to reciting poetry at a venue. Is one of the most iconic places as a poet where you go there and it's like going to like MSG performing at MSG
Mm,
and then to get um acceptance, get praise for your piece. That's no money in the world can kind of I can't think of the word, but no amount of money can just add up to just getting the nod from your peers.
mm.
I just want to put that into the conversation in there is that you were able to perform there, man. That's beautiful. Is there a video of you performing at New Weekend? Because I would love to see that because that's epic, brother.
I do have another video of me performing the piece at New York and on my TikTok. It's a couple videos after the video that you saw. Um,
So I'm gonna find that because that's right there. That's phenomenal, and I applaud you for just being at that venue to perform there. Because I know that
I,
had to be like butterflies in your stomach
oh,
performing that.
100%. Especially you'll see it in my video that I something shifted. Something most definitely shifted right before going into that performance and then during that performance to the point where I'm so passionately into that performance that I stumbled. And even after that stumble, I found my place and went right back into it. And that energy still carried through from when I started it all the way to the end, even with that stumble I had. And that was after that performance, one of my peers came up to me like, the way you performed that piece tonight, the way your cadence, the delivery, the tone, everything about that performance of yours is something that I will forever remember. I was like, that's when you know, you think you're doing this art for a reason. And at first you think, oh, let's just see where this piece takes me. But going to New Weekend, I found myself listening to words that needed to be spoken a while ago. Not just for me, but from everyone. And so for me to have someone be like, your words are the unspoken words that I needed to hear. It was like, wait, this is something. This is real. This Kaleo, you found your voice. You're using your voice. And it's just like voice, voice, voice. And I'm still finding my voice.
But the beauty of it too is that you're still finding your voice, but you found a tribe, and to put everything full circle from where we started from before, how you were inspired from a poet, a Hawaiian poet who recited at the White House, to you having your White House moment in the Rican
Mm,
Cafe is a beautiful sight to see. And brother, I thank you for coming on. I truly blessed that you were able to come on, share your story, show the inspiration behind boys like flowers too. How can people find you?
You can find me on social media at Kaleo, Kaleo, Kauhola, Kauhola. Once again, Kaleo Kauhola, Kaleo Kauhola.
Definitely. All the links will be in the description below. Brother, anytime you want to come on, you're always welcome to come on. If you have a new piece you want to share, your home, this home, you have another tribe here, man. And
Thank you
again,
so much.
and I appreciate you. This has been another great episode on the podcast. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we're out. Peace.
Thank you.
Stay on for 1 second. I'm going to end the recording.